Hello and welcome to another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I am your mayor of PHNX, and I'm joined by my vice mayor, my friend, my co-host, the one and only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman.
Derek, why do you sound so happy? Why are you so energetic today? What's wrong with you?
I'm gonna go see the Batman tonight early, Jesse. That's really the only thing I have going on right now in life. That's really where I get my pride and joy. It's not from baseball. It's not from this stupid little ball. It's not from this anymore, Jesse, because this brings me nothing but anger and frustration lately. And obviously we're gonna get to that. But of course, I want to remind everybody that this show is brought to you by the fine folks at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use our code of PHNX, and simply for betting $1 on the main event of UFC 272, DraftKings will give you $100 in free bets just instantly, no matter what the hell happens in that main event. Covington's a heel, Masvidal's the face in this one. I'm going babyface. You do what you want to do, but you can do whatever you want to do over at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And again, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of UFC. Oh, Jesse. God damn it. We were so close. Oh, we were so close. Evan Thompson says, I need this therapy. It is a sad, sad day in baseball. Evan, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's a sad, sad day in baseball. It's a sad day for me. Saul Bookman says, keep your head up, guys. At least we have each other. Do we? Do we, Saul? Yeah. Josh Hunt, how to lose your fans in 10 days? Absolutely. To Netflix, to Hulu, to everything else. Because, of course, we thought we were so close, Jesse. You and I lost a significant amount of sleep last night. Yesterday in the MLB negotiations, more progress was made in a single 16-plus hour session on Monday than has been made in 90 days of time, of actual time. 90 actual days. More progress was made in one day. In a day, Jesse, that felt ultimately like a deal was going to be made. They were not going to leave that facility in Jupiter, Florida until a deal was made. You believed it. I believed it. Don't lie. We were both wrong. I'm throwing both of them up. I don't care. We were both wrong. Look at Jesse was wrong. Derek is sad. Derek was wrong. It's all these things. It's all of those things because we really believed that we were going to see a deal happen last night.
Okay, but for the record, I didn't go out and tweet last night. I didn't tell the people last night that by the time you wake up in the morning, baseball will be back. Only one of us made that choice.
To be fair, you also texted me after that telling me what a grave mistake I had made. So I want to put that out there
I did.
Publicly as well, because yes, Jesse was very much against that tweet.
I'm just glad you didn't put it out from the show account, because I think you would have instantly lost our credibility after what happened today. Leave your ridiculous takes for your personal account, Derek. Let's just leave it over there. Chris, we're all there. Chris says you had good company not sleeping.
For sure.
Yeah, there were a lot of fans of baseball up late last night. It was kind of fun, Derek, honestly. We were going crazy in the Discord. The Discord was popping off. We were having fun talking about free agency and all the crazy things that might happen.
And that's what it felt like. It felt like trade deadline, free agency deadline kind of vibe. Like you couldn't wait for something to happen. You felt like something was going to happen. There were some rumors. There were some things going on. But Bob Nightengale, on one hand, was the absolute MVP of the reporting. But is he? I mean, because he kept us updated on information, but more than anything, Bob Nightengale gave us so much hope last night. He gave us so much hope throughout the evening.
Bob Nightengale, I mean, let's face it, he's built up quite a reputation over the years. We all know what the comment section of a Bob Nightengale report looks like on Twitter. It
was very weird last night. There were a lot of very funny Photoshop images. That picture of him autographing a baseball for someone at the facility definitely made its rounds, especially on our account. There was a lot of there was a lot of idolizing Bob Nightengale last night, because they felt like him single-handedly coming back to report, which, by the way, he had been away. He had taken a hiatus. I don't know what the reason for, but apparently he hadn't been there, and now all of a sudden he showed up and he had all of these hot takes. He had all of this information, stuff that we weren't getting from other people, right? So yes, Derek jinxed it according to Saul, and of course I did. It's always me.
You kind of have to take responsibility for that, Derek.
Cruel Derek image, please. I don't have a cruel Derek. The best I can give you is mischievous Derek. That's the best I can give you. I apologize for that. But yeah, it really was. Josh,
do you have a foolish Derek? Is there a foolish Derek? Is there a foolish Derek?
No. There's silly Derek. Silly Derek is probably
silly Derek. Okay, yeah. That might be.
Derek was wrong. Probably is most applicable here. But Josh said it was like we all stayed up for Christmas together, and then when we woke up, we saw no presents, but got told to wait. And then our Christmas surprise was that our parents are getting divorced. Josh, oh my God,
wow. there's a lot to unpack there.
That is a lot to unpack, and so accurate. It's so accurate. So yeah, it's absolutely what last night felt like. I think the biggest change, or the biggest, I don't know, the saddest thing about the situation was the hope we had last night, and going to bed with this hope, much like Josh said, finding out our parents are getting divorced the next day and that we got no presents. The next day when we woke up, it was just this big, and now, all of a sudden, we have an MLB spokesperson saying, we thought there was a path to a deal last night. We agreed to exhaust every option. We will be making our best offer to the MLBPA by 5 p.m. that we think is a fair deal for players and clubs. That best option quickly got turned into a final offer, apparently, is what it got made out to be. And the final offer was rejected by the players. So we are now at a point where baseball games have been canceled. The first 2 series of the Major League regular season has been canceled.
It's really sad. And yeah. It's really unfortunate. Just given how much hope was built up last night, and we were all having this cool moment, right, of anticipating the end of this whole situation. This thing that has lasted for 3 months, which is just ridiculous to think about. But yeah, what shocked me today, Derek, is that the numbers came out of what the final offers were from each side, and they weren't really very close.
No, you say that, but can you also admit though that they weren't as far, on certain things, like the competitive balance tax, they weren't as far apart as I thought that they were going to be at this point, right?
Right.
I mean, I know it's also the future years too, and those kind of got a little bit farther apart, right? But they're still very far apart on the bonus pool, which Rob Manfred today in his press conference tried to, reiterate. It was weird. It was this subtle digs. It was this very much subtle blaming of the MLBPA, despite the fact that he started out talking about it very amicably and talking about how both sides work very hard. Then he went into kind of the digs where he was, was saying like, hey, we never had this bonus pool before. So now that we're at this point, we're offering it, and we're offering this money, and we offered all sorts of other stuff. They talked about the changes to the game, the rule clock. Apparently that sounds like the shift is dead. They're eliminating the shift in baseball, which is something that's been casually brought up, but not really something that we've gotten any confirmation.
Was that made official? Is that
he
something
said it in his press conference today? They said, well, there's part of the owner's proposal, and he said that was something that they were seeking. So he threw it in on the pile of things that the owners have graciously offered up. To be honest, to be fair, we attacked the owners here a bit. So when you kind of heard Rob Manfred make the case for what the owners and such have offered, there was some of it that made it feel like the owners have, in good faith, tried to do a lot of the things that the players wanted. Like they were like, we wanted 14 games, but we agreed to 12 for the expanded playoffs. We're, all good on the universal DH. Pitch clock is in, and ways to make the game more competitive and more fun on the field, like eliminating the shift. There's a lot of things that apparently, he highlighted, right? So, but at the same time, it's crazy the way that MLB profits have gone up, and players have essentially stayed at the same dollar amount. What they're asking for doesn't seem to be unreasonable, especially when it comes to now losing games, right? So now with the loss of games, you have loss of player salaries, you have loss of income for the teams. And, you know, they've talked about how there are some teams that are completely in favor of this because they don't really get a lot of fans coming out in April. But I don't know, man. Is there really a ballpark across America that isn't packed on opening day? I can't believe that you're really willing to miss out on opening day and have all of this bad faith go forward for whenever opening day is. As it stands right now, opening day for the Diamondbacks will now be a home series against the Padres starting on April 7th, should there be no additional changes to the schedule.
And that's a pretty big if. So I wouldn't make any
I wouldn't make any travel
don't
plans.
Don't make any plans for for that opening series against the Padres just yet. But yeah, I mean, digging into some numbers here, this is the final breakdown for the competitive balance tax that came from the owner side of things. They had it at 220 million, that being the threshold for 2022 to 2024, escalating to 224 million in 2025 and then 230 million in 2026. When you compare that with the numbers coming over from the player side, that's really not a significant movement from where we were at before this whole thing started. And yesterday it was kind of puzzling, Derek, because the storyline that was coming out from the reporters that were saying things is that the CBT threshold was no longer the big issue. People were saying that was not going to be, you know, what stops a deal from moving forward. What was going to stop the deal from moving forward was actually the number of teams in the playoffs, which was very surprising to me. I didn't really think that was going to be a huge point of negotiation, at least not something as big as the CBT threshold. And yet that's what we were told last night was hanging a deal up. And then all of a sudden we had reporters saying they've agreed on a 12-team playoff field, which seemed like a huge announcement, right? I mean, if that was the main thing that was holding up negotiations, now that they've got that set, it sounds like we're ready to move forward. But now that these numbers have come out, it just doesn't add up. I mean, these numbers just are not, they're much closer. You're right. I mean, it's more than like, oh, we'll increase the CBT threshold by 1 million, 4 years from now. Like that was a serious proposal that was made just a few days ago by the owners. We're beyond that, but the numbers here are still very far apart. And that's why, unfortunately, moving forward, I just don't have that much confidence. That obviously the two sides are not operating with as much urgency now. They're not both in Jupiter, Florida, ready to meet again tomorrow morning. They're going to go their separate ways. And we just have to hope that this doesn't drag on for too long.
Evan in the comments asked, Derek, what is a good wrestling analogy? Thinking you're getting an alliance with Stone Cold, him offering you his hand, you go to shake it, then he gives you a Stone Cold Stunner. Great one, Evan, by the way. DTA when it comes to Austin. You don't ever trust Austin. But also maybe throwing back to like WCW days where NWO recruited Sting and they wanted him to be in the NWO, and then he'd like take off his shirt and he was wearing, not like he had an NWO shirt on, but ripped it off and then beat them all up with a baseball bat. Which, hey, at least the baseball bat's in there. And it's the best I can think of on the fly when it comes to trying to recruit or pretending like you have something in the bag and then finding out the next day that you don't. That's pretty much all I can equate this to. I felt like we had it in the bag. We all felt like we had it in the bag. And that I don't know who to blame, but we're going to blame somebody before we get to the end of this podcast. But first, I want to remind everybody that I do have some more information about Rob Manfred canceling these games over on gophnx.com. If you haven't signed up to become a member yet, please do so. You can get the annual membership and you'll get your first month for just annual membership. You'll get a free t-shirt. That's what you want. You want to go over to phnxlocker.com, pick out your free t-shirt, get yourself a sticker pack or something else while you're there, and then get your annual membership along with that. And if you're not interested in that, you can get the month-to-month option, and you'll get your first month for just 50 cents. But please join us over at gophnx.com. Like Jesse said, we had a blast in the Discord last night talking about this. I don't know. We were all awake. We all needed somebody to talk to, and it was like a support group in our chat. So members can get down on that, as well as members-only discounts over at the phnxlocker.com. By the way, amazing shirts, comfortable, soft-fitting. They make you look more handsome or more beautiful, depending on which one you want to look like. And they're also the best in sports. But also, Jesse, someone's wanting to know, Chris wants to know, can we just cancel Manfred? And I felt like his direct, like him saying, I'm canceling games, or we're canceling games, or I'm like, when he started off with like, I didn't want to be up here canceling games. It's like, you don't have to. You don't have to, guy.
Right.
What is going on?
Well, and what was worse is, I'm sure you saw this on social media, that still shot of Rob Manfred smiling just for a second
He's
before
insane.
he
It was
started.
insane.
So
Like,
there
he still
has
tried
to
to
be
joke
some
with the
story.
media. Someone asked him if, like, hey, can I think I don't know who it was, but they were like, I have 2 questions. He's like, well, you only get 1. And then he's like, ah, and it was like, is
Okay, at least there's some
crazy?
story there, and he's not just walking up to the microphone like giggling as he's about
No,
to
he
cancel games.
was just being very like carefree, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I think he was
still.
just nervous. I think it was just the way he is. He's also very familiar with a lot of the press that's there, right? It's not just all MLB. It's like the elite reporters there reporting on this, right? So he knows a lot of these guys personally. He's had conversations and chat with them, but it definitely got to be like, it didn't seem to have the right tone for, canceling baseball games for the first time since 1994. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't seem like a good time. It's kind of like laughing and joking with a buddy at a funeral where you're like, come on, man, like, can you wait till the parking lot or something,
man?
Yeah. And I mean, you and I have joked, speaking of joking, about like MLB's use of MLB.com and other things as almost like propaganda, as weapons in their negotiations to almost put more effort into making the Players Association look bad. But is that what we saw last night? And I say that because, one of the things we brought up in the Discord with our family members from the PHNX family was that we heard all of this stuff from Bob Nightengale.
Yeah.
But we did not hear anything, not a peep, from guys we respect quite a bit in the business that are covering this, like Evan Drellick and Jeff Passan, during the late night negotiations.
Yeah, Ken Rosenthal, we were convinced that they were all just asleep or something. He called it a night at that point. It was pretty weird.
And honestly, there were a lot of jokes being thrown around. It was a giddy time on Twitter. So again, while everyone was idolizing, basically Bob Nightengale for being the guy that was providing updates, everybody was poking at Jeff Passan and Evan Drellick to get something out there, which eventually Jeff Passan did update early in the morning, and then he followed it up with one of the greatest responses I've seen from him yet, which said, "Reminder, jabronis, I tweet when there's news and I don't sleep," which means he saw all of your tweets.
Yeah.
He thought he wasn't on Twitter. He was there the whole time, and he was just thinking of funny replies and things to say. But yeah, I mean, I just wonder where we had a little bit, right? Was the positive information about the negotiations, that was coming out, was it meant to make it look like they were really trying at the last minute, but in reality, they really weren't trying?
There were some people on the players' side of things today who came out and said that there was kind of this optimism push yesterday that was made to the media by the owner's side of things. And that's a pretty believable narrative, because now that the dust is settled and we've seen what the numbers actually look like, there really doesn't seem to have been as much of a reason for that kind of optimism, just given how far apart the numbers actually were. The two sides are moving in the right direction, right? Progress was being made. It was productive, but there wasn't. I think a lot of us were led to believe that this deal was a lot closer than it actually was.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, I don't want to get too far into the reputations of different reporters, but I think it's no secret that, there are certain reporters where they say something and it's true. And there are other reporters where they say something and it's probably true, but you're going to wait and see if someone else confirms it, right? And what was
because
coming out,
first person that probably knows what that second person knows. And trust me, being the person I am, I have been both of those people, and mostly the first one. Or not the first one, the second one, the one that just puts it out and other people wait to hear confirmation from. You get excited and you don't wait to hear it. And the reason why that first person has credibility is because they are waiting for some sort of confirmation before they put something out publicly, whereas that person just got the tip and went with it. And like, that's the big difference in reporting. There's a lot of stuff that I'm told off the record that a lot of times, I won't lie, I have a hard time keeping off the record, but when you commit to keeping something off the record, you do, right? And some of these guys, that's how they get their information, is by not officially, going with the first piece of information they have, but at least getting the tip and following up on it for confirmation.
Yeah. So it was just, I think some people were skeptical last night, and we probably all should have been, right? That Jeff Passan wasn't coming out saying a deal was close, that Ken Rosenthal wasn't coming out saying a deal was close, right? That's just, some baseball reporters are just different than others, right? And
Jesse, some reporters will tell us there will be baseball when we wake up, per Chris Melton. Shots fired.
Thank you, Chris. We cannot let this be lived down, because I texted Derek the moment he sent that tweet, and I basically said, "Well, dude, you're an idiot. Like, this is not going to end well for you."
I'll tell you this much: I am still disappointed that I didn't wake up to baseball. And again, we started already kind of hypothetically throwing some ideas out there last night, and like I told you before we got on air, some of this stuff kind of like lives in your head. You think of an idea and you're like, I have no way to prove this, so there's no reason to bring it up. But it almost feels like, once again, like with the MLB.com stuff, that we do have certain reporters, even John Heyman's, on yesterday's show, we kind of mocked John Heyman's positivity that he was optimistic a deal was going to get done yesterday.
Right.
And it just seemed ridiculous. Then what we saw was a 16-hour negotiation session that made both you and I believe that we might have been jumping the gun by mocking Heyman on his optimism. So much so we were considering recording an emergency podcast. This thing went down.
We were ready to scrap the podcast. This morning, because it would have been completely irrelevant.
The way we talked about, if you've heard yesterday's podcast or today's podcast from earlier today, the audio podcast, you'll know that what we would have said would have been completely irrelevant had a deal been struck. But that's not what's happening, because it's lockout season. It's still lockout season. There's no deal. It's lockout season now, then, and forever. It's lockout season, it feels like. But the idea that I was talking about was, again, are we just being told stuff to make it, again, are we just being told these things to make it seem positive, so that, maybe we can start moving the momentum in a direction of people being more hopeful and less, cynical about a deal getting done? And then Alex Wood has to go tweet this and just confirm all of my, suspicions and the conspiracies I have going on in my head, when he says, for what it's worth, MLB has pumped to the media last night and today that there's momentum toward a deal.
Right.
Now saying the players' tone has changed. So if a deal isn't done today, it's our fault. This isn't a coincidence. We've had the same tone all along. We just want a fair deal to play ball. And I think that is accurate. I don't feel like they're being deceptive there. The reason I specifically think that is because you and I have talked about MLB's kind of like, again, their control over the media on their end, and their ability to try to make it look like the players are at fault in this whole thing.
And not only that, but we also know that as far as reporters go, there are some reporters who are probably more likely to take on that role as kind of being the mouthpiece of Major League Baseball. And a lot of the stuff that was coming out last night appeared to be from sources on the owner side of things, right? We have to recognize that there are two sides to this situation. And so as these reporters are coming out with these updates, it makes a big difference if you ask the owners, how are negotiations going? Is there momentum? Versus if you ask the players, how are negotiations going? And it seemed like last night we were hearing more from the owner side of things than the players.
I agree with you. By the way, Nick Sutphin just showed up and he says, hey, y'all, just arrived for our group therapy session. I'm glad you guys are all here for this. Today was rough. And it really was. I think we're all feeling that. We're all feeling that our hope just slipped through our hands, like trying to hold sand. It's like it was there and then it's gone. But, since our man Nick is here, I want to give him a shout out for this beautiful piece of artwork that he created for us. This is in regards to our D-backs Mount Rushmore that we talked about. Again, something we all kind of agreed on. I can't imagine anybody else really going up on this besides, like you and I said, Brandon Webb. But shout out to Nick for this beautiful thing that we will keep forever, and I'll probably use as my header or something on Twitter because it's too nice to not have somewhere.
Yeah, it's great. Well done, Nick. I personally, I like to think that I have a diverse skill set when it comes to social media and just doing the kinds of things that we do here. But I know nothing about Photoshop. Like I cannot do anything. So things like this are very impressive to me.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
You have some skills. You have some Photoshop skills.
I do. I do have some skills, but it's definitely it's like a skill set that seemed useless for a lot of the stuff I was doing at times, and now somehow has fallen into a category that it's part of my job. So
again, it's a dangerous skill set.
Jesse, I could
ever so slight amount of Photoshop knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, God. But anyway,
use it responsibly, Derek.
Use it responsibly. Just like we want you to use the DraftKings Sportsbook responsibly. Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook if you haven't done so already. And if you're a new customer, you can get down on our exclusive offer for this Saturday. You can use our code of PHNX. And on UFC 272, you can bet on the Covington Masvidal fight. Bet just $1 and get $100 in free bets, no matter who wins. It doesn't matter who wins. You'll get your money, regardless of if it's a knockout, submission. I like the thing, double knockout, disqualification. It doesn't matter. You're getting your money. But download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code of PHNX. Throw down just $1 on the UFC 272 main event and get $100 in free bets no matter what happens in the fight. That's code PHNX this Saturday at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. 21 and over only. Arizona only. Gambling problem? Dial 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Jesse, things in MLB are getting weird. So I just have to say that we talked about already Bryce Harper kind of offering up his services to teams in Japan. Well, today it was found that Joey Gallo started a LinkedIn page. So if you're looking for an outfielder with some good years of experience, he's available. I don't know what particularly you could use him for. Maybe a substitute PE teacher. That would be a good fill-in job for Joey Gallo. I would get him to maybe be a dog walker or some sort of dog sitter because he's got a good arm. Can go play with the dog, get the dog tired. I think that he would.
And he does walk a lot.
He does walk a lot. Oh man, this is why I
thought you were gonna make that pun. You just threw.
No, I was. It was there. It was there for the taking. It was there for the taking. This is what's funny is while I was looking up Joey Gallo's LinkedIn, I found Barry Bonds' LinkedIn. Joey Gallo seems like more of a joke, where Barry Bonds is like an actual hey, I'm here, available for work should you need me. So
Barry Bonds does I don't. Is he employed in any way that we know of currently?
I think so. I think he's like a hitting coach or something with some team, but I didn't pay attention. Okay. I shouldn't have even brought it up if I didn't know the answer to these questions I knew you were going to ask. But yeah, I wonder how many other baseball players will offer up their services. It's going to start to turn into a joke, right? Like we're going to start to see this. Obviously, we have this word that players are meeting in Mesa, Arizona. We already have some idea where they might be training because obviously it can't be a trip like a spring training park. It can't be anything tied to the MLB in any way, shape, or form. But there are some pretty nice facilities out here for people to train at, including one that was sent to me that looked very much so like it would be capable of training major league ball players. And I think the bigger thing there too is once they get together, you're going to have veterans and stuff that are really close to being coaches at this point in their career that can really just facilitate training sessions and have things go very similar to what we're seeing at Salt River Fields right now with the minor league players.
Yeah, what was something that stood out to me today from when we heard from the union side of things is that Andrew Miller said that we are prepared to wait this out, which unfortunately, I mean, that's a pretty scary thing to hear, but they're not at all surprised by what's gone down here.
They knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, they knew what was going to happen, and so yeah, like you're saying, they had a backup plan as far as training goes. They've been in talks with some place in Mesa, we're told, where they're planning on being able to host players and give players access to what they need. But we talked about it yesterday. They have financial resources available for players as well, right? So it sounds like on the player side of things, they are banded together and they are ready to do what is needed in order to get what they believe is a fair deal. And yeah, I mean, it's sad to hear, but I mean, that's why we're here in the first place. The proposal that was made by the owners just wasn't what they were looking for. And from the beginning, we knew that they were going to be serious in these negotiations until they really got what they were looking for.
Nick Sutphin in the comments says, I want Gallo to come work in the lumber yard with me. Lots of heavy labor and a ton of walking.
There you
go. Yeah, big fan of both of those things. Chris Melton says, at least Taiwan knows where he's watching Batman. And that,
yeah,
I was very worried about that. That's a very big concern of ours because he needed to know if he was going to be here in Arizona or in Florida. So,
right.
It's another frustrating day of lockout. We have already discussed all over the last week how little we really want to talk about the lockout, but it's hard not to when stuff like this is happening. And now the cancellation of games, they're taking more than spring training away from us. They're taking opening day. There's no way. I know opening day is always going to be opening day no matter when it occurs, but there's no way opening day is going to be as special now. We're also missing out most likely on the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in baseball. And that's another just tragic, absolute tragic thing to not celebrate, to not be on the field for, to not be, celebrating the diamond anniversary of that. It's not only important to sports, but it's important to society, right? Like it's just crazy to me that this is where we're at. So hopefully they act fast. We saw them make a lot of progress in one day, so we know they're capable of that, right? But according to Rob Manfred today, the players are going back to New York, where the next earliest session that can be had was Thursday, and that's where we're at. So hopefully we'll have some updates on Thursday for that live show. But we thank you guys so much for joining us in the comments. We always have a blast when you guys are here. And I'm glad that we could kind of scream and yell a little bit and have a laugh or two when it comes to this ridiculous situation.
We're not going to talk about the lockout for forever. Just so that's clear. I'm I don't want tomorrow, Derek. We're going to find something else to talk about.
No lockout talk tomorrow. There's no progressions that's going to be made, so there's nothing to talk about. So it's a great time to jump in the Discord, give us ideas on what you want us to talk about. And Chris asks one final question. Do you think we as D-backs fans have a leg up on other fans because we live in misery? Well said. Well said. We absolutely do. We're used to this. So you can't hurt us. We've developed calluses on our fandom. But again, we thank you guys so much for joining us. You can get us on Twitter. I'm at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you're listening to us right now on your favorite audio podcasting app, please subscribe if you haven't done so already and leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel and sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss any of the amazing content coming out from our entire PHNX team. There's a lot more happiness elsewhere to be had. Not a lot of places, I guess. Arizona sports is kind of a dumpster fire right now, but God bless the Suns for keeping us afloat. We thank you guys again so much for checking out the show. Remember, sign up at gophnx.com to become a member. Use our code of PHNX over at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. On behalf of Jesse and myself, we thank you guys again so much for checking out the show. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when we don't talk about the lockout.